Exciting part of the meeting.
There's one missing.
Did I miss one?
No, I knew them before.
Rita, you didn't put a bond in your pocketbook the way I did it.
It's a nice pocketbook.
Just on that.
You didn't slip the series 2033
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, Monday, I'll be there. Oh, you have to. You gonna be there Tuesday? Yeah. Because Bob will come. He's gonna stop there. That's what I did, back from More Women's, which would be about 5-ish.
Yeah, I think that.
Are you going to? Yeah, no, I get it.
We'll just go to
Yeah.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Want to just, you probably may want to double check as we go through.
Yep.
Not that we miss it.
Not that you missed.
That's funny, there's a book on everything you always wanted to know about levy limits, but were afraid to ask. Like anybody asks.
I got this, well, people do. That's the questions. So I was gonna get, I have 5 of them. So I thought maybe,
That's
Leah would
funny.
want 'em.
It's like typed
real
in like,
old.
it's typed in like typewriter font. Like backspace.
We were wondering how old the.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
back
so we
when,
could,
O'Brien first.
Those,
talked about that.
That's funny.
this is all for Will?
Yeah. Okay. And these are the bonds, so she only has to seal them.
Just the questions. Rest guy.
Am I gonna?
Just whether or not one.
Yeah.
I'd say just one.
Yeah, I agree.
Wasn't that great?
I think like, yeah, we'll have that conversation.
And,
You're taking all the rest of the documents in your
I'll just
bag.
take them, I think. Yeah, just so you don't need to, just so you don't need to have, you know.
Take it to something like that, it's fine.
what you need to update.
There'll be a ballot for.
These are the only, these are the only two.
Those are all signed.
Yeah.
You said, yeah.
We should just.
You did one out of order, yeah, can you just make sure? This is all the top page, so it's easy to.
Did you go away? I was just gonna say.
Sandwich.
These are good.
Not a bad ride.
Huh?
Not a bad ride.
But I came from Worcester, so. It's not, that's why I say coming to Lakeville, it's going up the road.
No. It's from 1988.
Yeah.
There was 4 of them. There you go.
Yeah, I kept one in the file and threw the others away.
I don't think you have to take this one too.
Oh, and then, I don't think this matters anymore.
Oh, I need to get Tracy's, she's got, yeah.
All right, good. Good, okay, guys.
Yeah,
Who's the mail?
we'll do that later.
See you later, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you'll
And I'll
lock the
lock the
front
door,
door?
yeah, I'll lock the
Okay,
door.
thanks, Deb.
Okay,
All right. That being said, we now have a bond. It's exciting. Agenda item number 2. So this is a discussion of the police chief appointment. So we have had a very brief discussion on this where we really were unable to discuss this appointment or how we want to approach this appointment. And so we wanted to call a meeting just to kind of have that opportunity to really discuss what we want to do with regard to the next police chief. And I think that it's important to note that certainly with all different appointments that we have in all of the various departments and department heads, that this one has been, certainly they're all different in terms of what criteria I know I approach these appointments with and how I take a look at each and every one of them. And certainly, this was one that was, I think for me, a very easy discussion to come to based upon the outpouring of support from the existing officers in the police department related to the individual that was put forth previously by Frank during the process of a number of different opportunities where Frank was able to kind of present to us what his chain of command looked like as well as the support that I've really kind of seen from the department and all of those individuals that reached out. So for me, this doesn't actually seem like it's going to be much of a discussion from my perspective, because I already know what I would like to do with regard to the police chief appointment. So that being said, I'm happy to kind of ask John, and kind of move down just to say, what you have with regards to your thoughts on the police chief appointment.
Well, certainly, back a couple of weeks ago, we were going to have a discussion which got pushed back a little bit. And then, but I go back to Frank Avalera's retirement letter, which was some time ago. And I said at that point in time that I would talk to various people in the department. People reached out to me, I reached out to some people, certainly not everyone. But I got the same sense or a similar sense that that Mitzi had, that there was a solid backing of Officer Perkins. And certainly we could do it a different way, but my support would go to him at this point in time. So get into various reasons if we care to or if we need to. So that's where I kind of stand. Will you?
I definitely think this is very difficult for a lot of reasons, some of which, we definitely don't have to go into, but I'm not usually at a loss for words. I just wanted to discuss opening it up into the department to see. I'm not anti-Officer Perkins, just in the name of transparency. Do we know if there's any other interest by any other person in the department?
I haven't heard anything from anybody that I've spoken to, at least from my perspective.
I would certainly think that if we asked for resumes, we probably would get certainly Officer Perkins, but we probably would get a couple more. But having said that, I think he's the most qualified.
Yeah.
So you could go through that. I see a lot of other towns do a similar scenario, that whether they make themselves feel good about an approach, an inside approach, then an outside approach, and lo and behold, they come back to maybe the beginning person. So I'm pretty well set. Matt, let me first of all, I'm going to make a motion, and then the discussion, I can have a further discussion. So what I want to put on the table is that I'm making a motion that Matt Perkins be made the permanent police chief of Lakeville.
So I will second that, but just add, I guess as we talk about negotiations, because we always have to talk about who's going to negotiate that particular contract, I would also put you as the individual to negotiate that, should that motion pass.
My lucky day.
So I've seconded that. Yeah, you're lucky.
So we can get into a lot of various things, and I think that there would be other people that would step forward and say, I'm interested in that job. And but it isn't that I know officers in detail. I know what I've been told. I know most of them. So I'm putting my support behind Matt, and that's why I made the motion.
And I think a lot of things over the past couple weeks have been solidified in my mind based upon really the outreach and talking to the individuals in the department and really seeing that outpouring of support. And again, as I kind of reiterate that, each department head is a different animal in terms of how, at least, I approach each one, and certainly this one to me is very simple. So, I mean, I'm doing the same, and I could either call the motion now, but Leah, I'm happy to hear you speak to it.
I just think that, we have really qualified people, and I don't want to lose any other people too. But I do just want everyone to understand that, the nature that this isn't, the easiest decision for us. Well, it is for you guys, but I guess. But I've put a lot of thought into it, and I know we have, and again, I am not anti anyone or whatever. I just want to be sure that as a board, we're doing a good job, which is important to me. We know that. I've made that, clear. And I'm okay with voting tonight too. It's just, I just, want folks to know that, I want to recognize that there is other people in the department too that, are good folks, but I'm ready to vote on that motion. I just, I just feel like I wish we had more positions to give out.
All right, so I'm going to call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, unanimous vote. Congratulations, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
We'll be in touch with you.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. So, agenda item number 3. We have thank you, everybody. We have a review request from the fire chief to appoint Kyle Medeiros as a temporary full-time firefighter/EMT. So the fire chief's requested that Kyle Medeiros be appointed as a temporary full-time firefighter/EMT. So, chief?
Thank you for hearing this. I'm asking you to consider the appointment of Kyle Medeiros as a temporary firefighter. The purpose of this appointment is to defray some overtime costs associated with a line of duty injury. Kyle would be hired as the lowest step, and he would be receiving salary, but that would be his only benefit. So when you compare that to time and a half, which it cost to cover that position, it's a savings to the town. So it's pretty straightforward why I want to do it. And Kyle would have to reapply to become a permanent firefighter, say another position comes open. The only thing that's really, other than the fact, the only thing that's significant about this appointment would be that the union, it's forbidden by the union contract, and the union has agreed to waive that portion of the contract with stipulations saying it doesn't create a precedence or alter the contract in any way. So they've agreed to cooperate in this instance to help save the town some money and maybe for safety reasons on their part, so their people aren't overworked and overtaxed. So I think it's a positive thing for the town. We're going to save a little bit of money, and again, we have a union that continues to want to work with me to do well by the town, so I feel pretty good about it.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, is there a timeline on it? I know typically we kind of put like a 6-month or, because I don't know what the definition will be between, I don't know if with Clarinda here, what the definition is between temporary and what constitutes someone that would be otherwise able or eligible to receive benefits versus this type of position.
Right.
And I just don't know because typically we've been doing, I think, 6 months, and then we'll renew it if that's, something that we need to do.
Well, the deadline that we put in the agreement with the fire union was until the injured on duty returned to work, or a new, because you're also hiring,
position.
or a full-time firefighter position was filled. So where it's labeled temporary, they're not eligible for all of the other full-time benefits.
And the council basically she said there wasn't an expiration date required on it. It just has to be a circumstance, like he's filling this role.
Until something happens.
Until something happens. And then the estimate as far as the length of time that the firefighter, the injured firefighter is out, it's all over the map. So I have no idea how long I'm going to need.
But in the event that Kyle gets injured on duty, he would qualify for those benefits?
Yeah, it's I forget the master.
111 qualified firefighters
Yeah, covered by that.
Okay,
And essentially, he's still, his status is an active qualified
Okay,
firefighter,
gotcha.
except for he's working full-time now.
okay,
In his background, is he a paramedic?
He is in paramedic school currently, with the projected finish date of June of next year, so he's at EMT basic currently. He works in Carver doing 911 response, so he has 911 emergency response experience, and he also works per diem for Brewster Ambulance as well. He has a bachelor's degree in physical education. He's a very physically fit kid, rugged. He's into the firefighting side of things. I like the kid a lot.
Right. My only concern, not about this particular position, is that if we begin to waive the paramedic mandatory, I begin to have a problem with that. Now, this is a little different circumstance, but we tread on dangerous grounds, I think, if I start to waffle on a mandatory paramedic degree, if I want to call it a degree, certificate.
It's a huge problem in Massachusetts. We have a paramedic shortage that's affecting every town. We just lost a firefighter to Pembroke. They had two qualified applications for 4 positions because they're paramedic requirements. So
I think it's great that he's in school for it. Some people scholastically love doing it, and some struggle doing it, and then we get into the disappointment if he doesn't make it.
it's
And,
true.
you know, then someone's on for 6 months or a year. So I really wanna, and I know you do that, really imply that he's gotta hustle to get that paramedic as best he can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
all right, so I will make a motion that we appoint Kyle Medeiros as a temporary full-time firefighter / EMT.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Thank you
right,
very much, I appreciate it.
no problem. We've got some new business, Rita.
I just have 2 things. The good news, we received our 40S reimbursement for this current year, FY19, and it came in $84,586 over what we went into FY19 budget year with. So that will go to free cash.
Perfect.
And that's based on the students in the 40R district. I haven't gotten the list of students yet.
Yeah, it's
but-
kind of funny. I mean, obviously it means there's a significant
Right.
growth in students.
It's not
in
great
that.
news.
Right, no, it's, I mean,
But, right,
at
but
least it helps to offset.
we're down 400
I
students, so
think
it's not bad
what
news.
they're doing is actually funding us the actual
Yeah.
amount, even
Of
at
the
the
students.
3,
Right.
I think we were shortchanged at the
In-
353.
Gotcha,
So,
in prior years.
Yeah.
Right, because I
Maybe
don't
we
think the
can,
number of
maybe we can
students.
check on that formula from previous year,
Yeah,
subject to appropriation though, always.
yeah. Well, that's good news.
And then I just wanted to get some feedback from the board. Monday night's agenda, I'm going to ask the selectmen to schedule the debt exclusion election. We've secured the Moon Pond Lodge for September 10th. But we need to know on the questions. I'm talking to town council, did you want to have 2 separate questions, one for Article 7 or one for Article 8? Or you can have just one question for the $4 million.
Yeah, so I think, you know, for ease of wording, I mean, I think if we explain that it's $4 million worth of road projects, that it might be easier to have one, because I think you run the risk of it just failing, or having one, or people not living on 79, or not concerned about 79, or people living on certain roads that they might be concerned with other roads. I don't mind leaving it as one, with $4 million. I mean, the issue becomes if 79 doesn't pass, then clearly we don't have the money to be able to move forward with Route 79. So if you wanted to separate it out that way, you'd have an argument for one that might be stronger than the argument for the other, but we can always go back, right? I mean, the question I have is is there a reason why we have it so late? If that fails, and we wanna call a second special election, does it have to be done within the same original
I'm
time
not-
period? Cause if we can
I'm
check on that, because I'd like to know, because if we can actually schedule it sooner,
Because we
I
looked for a
wouldn't-
Saturday, sometimes we do them, but with the weddings and everything at Ted
Yeah.
Williams.
well, I don't mind if it's a Tuesday in
Yeah.
the end of July, but I'd almost rather see if we can do it sooner rather than later. I know that maybe there's some complications with trying to get that done with maybe the town clerk's office.
You have to have the ballots in the town clerk's office 3 weeks before
So-
the election.
Yeah, so maybe for Monday night, if we can have that conversation maybe
Okay.
with Lil to see what's the earliest we could do it, because I don't wanna lose our bite at the apple if we need to go back again, because we could hold another one. Of course, it's more pricey to hold another special election, but because if we find that it fails and we find out that people really failed it because they don't want Route 79 or they don't want, you know, Precinct Street to be
And typically when you
Paved,
do the
that's
menu
not-
auction, people will pick and
Pick
choose
as
what they want.
opposed to just
Oh,
one,
that's-
yeah.
That's for sure,
Yeah.
but the 79 aspect of it has to pass, if you will, because then we stand to lose a lot of money that we've already invested in it.
Right,
But I don't mind the full amount, but I certainly agree if it failed, we have to
go again,
go back
yeah.
quickly.
Yeah, so if we can find out, I think, timeline as to how early could we do it,
Mhm.
because I would like to make sure we have a second bite of the apple.
And if I remember correctly, I think as long as the first election is within the 90,
Okay.
you might be able to hold a second, but I didn't bring my
Okay,
override folder.
yeah, so we can just
Yeah.
discuss that on Monday.
Yep.
That works.
Yes.
So I'll have them prepare one question.
All right,
Okay, that's all I have.
all right, any old business? Any new other business, any other business? No, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.